You'd be surprised at how relevant social science is to all our lives. It makes a difference, and I'm going to show you how. Let's start with one of the most pressing issues facing society at the moment, the environment. Councils across the country need to reduce the amount we send to landfill sites and recycle an awful lot more. Research has helped Staffordshire County Council to do just that.
How local authorities collect and manage waste is becoming much more important, as it is a very significant impact on climate change and sustainability. Research by Leeds Metropolitan University for the ESRC has enabled government to look at the way in which local authorities work together. Research has enabled us to find markets for new types of waste that the public can bring to sites like this and sort out. We now have 13 sites where the public can come and separate 19 different sorts of waste so that they can be reused and recycled rather than be sent to landfill.
Social science researchers also work closely with businesses, large and small, to help them to develop new techniques and stay a step ahead of the game in a fast-changing world. The ESRC funds a national scheme called the Knowledge Transfer Partnerships, which helps students and researchers to share their skills and expertise with businesses. One company that benefited from this scheme was the steel manufacturer Chorus.
At the time I was finishing my master's, and my supervisor, Dr. Helen Perks, she mentioned about the fact that Chorus was interested in doing a knowledge transfer partnership. And what was interesting for me was that the focus was in brand strategy. The knowledge transfer partnership was focusing on develop a brand strategy for the Color Code umbrella brand. Some of the benefits for the company have been to continue having a leadership position, to protect a product premium that is over £17 million. Another thing that has been very important is to bring back the pride among the workforce. The knowledge transfer partnership is a very important vehicle, and it's very good because what happens is the industry can get a lot out of this type of schemes, and also in terms of research, universities and academy can actually put knowledge into practice.
Social science research helps us to find better ways of working with new technology. One example is how research helped the Child Exploitation and Online Protection Centre to understand how to protect children from the dangers of online chat rooms.
From listening and learning from the research that we're given access to, we're able to configure our operational response in a way that's much more effective. And let me give you an example. When our undercover officers go online tonight, they'll be targeting particular groups. When we go into the classroom this year, we're targeting particular children. Why? Because academic research tells us that a particular group of children are at the greatest risk. The 11 to 15-year-olds who are most likely to have private access to their computer. They represent those individuals who 1 out of 12 of them will go offline and meet someone in the real world that they first met in the online environment. That type of academic evidence allows us to concentrate limited resources and get the best possible result for children, for law enforcement, for parents, and to reinforce the work that academia does.
Social science has an impact on the way that we live and work. The ESRC's Future of Work programme was part of a body of research in the late 1990s that helped to bring in new rights for employees to ask for flexible working.
We got quite a bit of research that says if you give your employees more choice as to where they work and when they work, I mean home working or part-time working, or flexi-time, term time working, this is liable to mean you find it easier to attract good people and keep good people, and the business case is quite easy to construct now. We can show, for example, that those people who work flexible patterns are more likely to be engaged with their work. We can show that people who feel they've got the right work-life balance have got a more positive psychological contract. They feel happier about coming to work and they're more likely to deliver when they're there. I cannot believe that there would have been such a fundamental shift in attitudes to working patterns without the backup of research, which means there's really no serious debate about the benefits of individuals having more choice about when they work.
Well, I've got 3 children, 2 at school and 1 at nursery. My husband works full-time, and for our family to function it's best if one of us works part-time. I'm very lucky in that my employer is very flexible, so I'm allowed to do part-time work. Also, I can come in a bit later in the morning or a bit earlier. As long as I get my hours done, that's fine by them.
Social science research can affect government policies. The Institute of Fiscal Studies looks at how those policies can affect you and me, as well as businesses and the government's finances.
Well, one good example of a direct impact would be a policy called the Education Maintenance Allowance that the government launched in 2004. And the idea of that is that you basically give up to 30 quid a week to 16-year-olds to stay on in full-time education. Now, the government initially piloted this in some areas, and we did an evaluation of that pilot and discovered that it increased the proportion of children staying on into full-time education by about 6 percentage points, and the biggest impacts were amongst poorer socio-economic groups. And in addition, we also discovered that it was more effective if you paid the money directly to the young people rather than to their parents. And so the government then rolled this policy out nationally, reflecting some of the findings that we'd made in looking at the pilots. And since then, there's been a rise of about 2 percentage points in participation rates for the 16s and above, which is the largest increase in 10 years. So I think that's been a valuable contribution.
Security is important to all of us. Research into domestic violence has changed the way the Metropolitan Police deal with 999 calls, helping them to prioritise the most urgent ones and to deal with the victims more effectively.
One of the things that arose from the ESRC program was basically the thinking, the foundations around doing some risk assessment work in the Metropolitan Police. How do you find out that this call is more risky than that call? And when you're talking about 100,000 calls a year, you need to think more systematically about what is that person saying, who are they calling, what do they want, what do they get, and what do they really need? And how does that prevent homicide?
Speedy enhanced response will offer quite structured improvement around a relationship with victims of domestic violence, will improve their trust and confidence, but above all, that speedy response assists them in terms of keeping them safe. Safety of our victims, safety of the secondary victims, children and other family members, and saving lives is of priority importance to us. So
in terms of the benefits for victims, is that hopefully what comes out is a more thoughtful, service-oriented police service that enables them to do something more proactive with victims as opposed to reactive to a call.
As well as developing new techniques, developing people is just as important for businesses and for the economy. The Advanced Institute of Management, or AIM, is a multi-million-pound research unit set up to work with businesses to look into the future of innovation, skills and productivity. Now, this is vitally important for Britain to remain competitive in a global market, to attract investment and, of course, to retain jobs.
The biggest challenge the UK faces, I think, at the moment is the whole globalisation agenda. So if you look at what's happening in India and China, the rate at which those countries are developing, it's incredibly rapid. We can't compete on the basis of cost in the UK. We know that. It's a fairly high cost economy relative to some other countries, some of the developing countries. So we have to compete on the basis of value added. And a lot of AIM's research is unpacking those issues of productivity, innovation and practices to understand how companies can deliver higher productivity, be more innovative in both their products, in their services, in how they work, in how they deliver things, in their management structures, and practices in the sense of what companies do and how they might change the way they work.
The economy, the environment, business, policing and online security. These are just a few of the areas where social science research is making a difference. Research being funded today will help our understanding of some of the most complex and pressing challenges facing us in the 21st century. People living longer lives and the issues associated with that, such as lifestyles, pension and health, terrorism and national security, education, particularly the improving of science and maths education in schools, and immigration and population change. If you'd like to find out more about what we've been talking about, the ESRC is the first place to look for information. After all, social science research will be part of all our futures.